Can't get any words. Podcast on blast, giving you the real talk, no holding back. Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. There's always a silver lining. We'll set you free, so join the movement. Let's change the game with the Can't Get Any Worse podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Can't Get Any Worse podcast. Coming off the back of a guest episode. This is the first time I've ever recorded 2 episodes in a row, so bit of transparency for you there. Had Matt from the Meraki podcast come up, make the drive up from the Gold Coast and, give us his time. And we had a pretty cool chat, to be honest. A lot of fucking laughs and banter. And then we got pretty heavy into some mental health shit about an hour in or so. So that one will be dropping Thursday. You guys are going to want to hear that. Matt's got some pretty crazy stories. And then, that bit of a check-in in the middle there. Probably been a while since I've had a conversation that deep and intense. Couple of sort of little truths peered their head. So yeah, we'll see what comes of that. But that'll be coming out Tuesday. The other thing that I'm a little bit anxious about is, because this is the first time that I've recorded 2 in a row, is if the fucking SD cards are just going to continue to save this episode on top of that one. So I have done a little bit of a backup before hitting record. Whether or not it worked, we all know how I am with technology, but we'll see how we go. We'll see how we fucking go. But the road dog has returned from his regional tour. Woof woof. And we'll wait for my week in comedy before we break it down in depth. But yeah, good to be home. It was put a lot of things into perspective and things like that. Obviously, first time that I've sort of been away from the family to do comedy and stuff like that. 3 days. That might be. Just trying to think. That might be the longest I've ever been away from the kids. Trying to remember. Yeah, I think that might be true, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, obviously puts things into perspective and makes you realise how much you miss those people that are just in your life, and obviously that you love all day, every day. So it was good to get back yesterday, Arvo, see them, see Nikita, give them all big fucking kisses and cuddles. And it was good. It was about half an hour of yay, dad's home, and then it was just straight back into dad life, just terrorizing the house, destroying it, toys everywhere. I even fucking lit a fire yesterday, right? So Westy's obsessed with fire. I know, probably not a great thing, but he likes lighting the fire pit out the back. So I got this crazy fire lit, right? Probably, if I had to rank it, in my top 5 fires I've ever lit, right? And this thing was blazing away, and he's gone and looked at it for maximum 3 to 4 minutes. And then he's just come inside, and I'm like, sick of the world's sickest fire burning outside right now. No one wants to fucking share the experience with me. But I'll touch on all these details about the tour when I get to it. So what else has happened this week other than the tour? I had a first this week in my day job. This has never happened to me before, and chances are I don't know if it ever will again. But I got a call up last week. Hey, looking to get a new kitchen? Oh, you've come to the right place. Missing interiors. Let's fucking go. And so I make the drive out there to this undisclosed location. Don't want to give away anyone's personal details or anything like that. But it was a bit of a trek for me. And I get there, and I'm knock on the door, finally get let in by these 2 lovely ladies. And they're like, right this way to the kitchen. And when I approach the kitchen, I'm met by something that I don't always see in a kitchen. To be fair, this is the first time I've seen it, right? Like I just said. And as I've walked around the corner of the kitchen to discuss what they might want to do with the place, I see in the center a stripper pole. Genius. What could be better than fucking cooking potato bake and then sliding down a greasy pole. And I say greasy pole because as I was measuring the kitchen, I looked above the fridge and there was pole grease, which I never knew was a thing. I thought strippers and stuff just dry hug the pole, but I guess it makes sense to lube that thing up. That's probably how they spin so fast. I've never attempted it. Maybe I could get a stripper pole in here. That'd actually be pretty cool. I might look into it. Might see if it fits the Can't Get Any Worse budget for the month. But yeah, bit of an odd one. And then what do you guys think I did about this? Do you think I addressed the situation and made a little joke like, that's a weird thing to be seeing in the kitchen, but let's move past it? Or do you think I awkwardly pretended that it never existed and shuffled my way past it every time I had to get to a new spot of the kitchen? If you answered B, you've won this week's Can't Get Any Worse trivia question of the week. Your prize pack is in the mail. Oh, yeah. It's two podcasts one day really takes it out of your voice as well, especially that last one. I think we went for like an hour 45 or something. So it is a bit of a long one, but it's worth it. Trust me. One of the funnest convos I've had in a long time. But so this is probably my Can't Get Any Worse story for the week, right? Everyone's aware we've got a dog. Her name's Bailey. What I like to do to help Bailey out all day, but to also help with my trying to lose the kilos, you know, I like to take her on about a 3 to 4K walk every day, okay? And Nikita thinks that's too much for her. Sometimes she gets a bit puffed and things like that, but I think it's good. Like, technically, deep down inside, she's like a wild fucking animal, right? I think she just needs to be let free and just release that inner beast. So I like to take her on long walks and make her dig deep. And it also pushes me as well, right? Like 3 to 4Ks isn't really that far in the reality of things, but it's far enough to get me and her both get a sweat on, you know what I mean? Now, there's a bit of a tally going on in the house. Whenever Nikita walks her, not one single shit. Whenever I walk her, minimum 2 shits every walk, which is fucked up. I think I've made it clear on the podcast before. I hate bending down and picking up dog shit in front of everyone, but hey, it's part of being a dog owner in the city. And this day, right, this was Wednesday or Thursday last week, let's say that, I've walked her. We're 10 minutes from home, if that. No, let's call it 5. 5 minutes from home. She shat. Wasn't exactly the greatest shit, right? I don't want to go into detail, but it was not firm. Let's put it that way. So I've picked up bulk of it, and I'm just walking around with this fucking mushy bag of shit, like a fucking goldfish I just won from the Ekka. And we're getting a bit of a gallop on, right? We're coming downhill, so I'm like, we'll jog in the last couple of meters, right? So we're jogging. Because we're jogging, the shit bag is swinging in the breeze, right? I'm not thinking anything of it. These are obviously built for this purpose. No company would release a dog shit bag that could not contain dog shit. That wouldn't make sense. That would be ripped off the market faster than you could, I don't know, whatever innuendo or whatever saying you want to insert there. My brain is fried today. But yeah, so I'm jogging away and then I feel on my leg and on my hand moistness. I feel a spray of moistness. Instantly, I've gone, oh mate, that I just ran past must have had his sprinkler on. Nah, no sprinkler. Okay, worst case scenario, a bird has just flown over my head and shat all over me. Great, that's just great. So then neither of those things happen, so I take a glance down to my leg and I just see a spray of dog shit up my leg, which has then flicked onto my hand and down my forearm here, right? And I've gone, fuck my life. I hate this shit so fucking much. But what do you do? So I've got nothing to clean it with, right? What am I going to do? Take my shirt off and just wipe all the shit up and then just be walking around the suburbs with like my man tits out? No, that's not happening. So I've just I've just braved it, right? I've power walked all the way home, leaking bag of shit, still in hand, because what am I supposed to do with it? Finally get home, unlock the door. I debrief, I wipe myself down, and I've got all the shit, right? I've got it all. Now, after I walk the dog, I like to do the sauna, then the ice bath. In that order. I like to get hot first, then cool down. And then once I get out of the ice bath, I go stand in the sun for a couple of minutes, right? Just absorb that vitamin D. So I've done this, right? I've jumped into the sauna. I do the sauna for about 20 minutes. I get about 10 minutes in, right? 10 minutes into my sauna. And I start to go, what the fuck is that smell? And then it hits me. I go, it smells like shit in here. Then I go, did I shit in the sauna? Have I just done a shit in a sauna? And I've gone, no. What? I've clearly not done that. Why would I take a shit in a sauna? And then fucking, it's hit me like an epiphany, right? I must have shit on my body somewhere. So I've started looking around and can't find it. Now, also when I sit in the sauna, I drape a towel over my head and shoulders, right? Just to really get that heat going. And as I'm looking around, I've pulled the towel off and I just see a smear of shit all over this towel. And I've gone, what is going on here? And obviously that part of the towel was on my upper arm, like the back of it and my back. So I've gone, great. I must have shit on the back of my arm that I couldn't see or reach when I was wiping myself down. And now I've just steamed myself up in a shitty sauna, which is not ideal. You know what I mean? And I don't know how it got to the back of my arm. The only thing I can say is I must have been running at such a velocity that the bag has burst and shit has basically done a 360 around my entire body because that's how fucking fast I was running. And now I'm just covered in shit. So it was not an ideal situation, right? I was not proud that I, had a shit sauna. A shit sauna. Nice. I like it. Bit of a play on words there, but hopefully your weeks are going a little bit smoother than that. Because that was a bit of a shitty week. Oh, Ash is back on the show with his fucking stupid dad jokes. But God, I'm peaking about this recording, hey. But it's saying it's recording, so my apologies if it doesn't. Let's get into it, eh? Let's get into the regional tour because I've got a couple of stories to get to and we might as well just rip in because that's what bulk of my week was, to be honest. I was away for 3 of the, 5 days that are in between recording the last one and this one. But, Thursday, Friday. When did I leave? Friday. Oh, yeah, fucking issues straight off the bat, right? Now, I don't want to call anyone out or anything, but there were 4 of us going on the tour, right? And I'm going to leave names out of this for all of these stories, right? No one needs to know who was there, who did what, blah, blah, blah. But the dude running the whole thing, he basically put in the group chat, he's like, hey, I've got 1 parking spot at my place, so if this person wants to pick up James, then drive to my place, then we'll pick the other person up on the way through to the first destination. Made sense, right? Bingo, bango, done. Now, Friday gets around. As we all know, I'm a bit of an anxious, worked up person. So I'm pacing the house from like 7 a.m. in the morning. I don't know how many times I triple checked my bag just to make sure I had fucking jocks and chargers and toothbrushes and blah, blah, blah. And I think the next time I pack, I'm just going to pack and I'm going to know I have everything and just put a padlock on the bag and just go, if you don't have it, go to fucking Woolies or something. But so I was getting picked up at 12 o'clock Friday, right? So I'm doing a lot of pacing. And it's about 11:30 and I hadn't heard from the person picking me up. So I messaged them. I go, hey, do you remember where I live or do you need my address again? And they've gone, send through your address. And I've gone, oh, okay. Must be close though because it's almost 12. So I sent that through and didn't get a reply or something. So then it was like 5 5 to 12 or something. So I've messaged again. No, it was 12 o'clock on the dot. I messaged again. I go, how far away are you? And this person said 35 minutes. And I've gone, oh, fuck, we're going to be late because we're supposed to be at the person running its house by 1. But here's what it is. Take a breath. Now, I don't know if I said this part in my tangent already, but I hate relying on people for like lifts or like a hand to do something or anything. So I was way out of my comfort zone as it was, right? I let my life into the hands of the comedy gods to get me to the destination on time and safely, right? Now, I wait 45 minutes, right? And then I wait 50 minutes. And Nikita goes, hey, maybe you should message the dude running it just to let him know you're going to be safe, even though, like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like the dibber-dobber and just message them and be like, oh, I haven't been picked up yet, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't like doing that because this person's nice enough to give me a lift, right? So then I messaged the room runner anyway, and he goes, oh, I had no idea. So then he calls the person picking me up. The person picking me up thought we were leaving on Saturday, not Friday. So now I've hit the panic button to fucking get myself to this person's house. Luckily, Nikita had just enough time between school pickup to drop me off, and we got out there. So we were one person short on the tour, which meant that me and the other guy got to do a bit extra time, which was nice. Originally booked for 10-minute spots on both of them, and I think the first night I did like 14 minutes, and then the second night I did like 16 to 17, I think. So that was sick to sort of stretch your wings and experience those bit longer sets, which is nice. Like obviously that show at Good Chat's coming up where we're pushing the 15 to 20-ish, depending on how we finalize all that shit. But we finally get to Nanango with just enough time to sort of check in and set up all the gear and stuff. And the layout of the venue was not like ideal, but it was like I've definitely experienced a lot worse than this, right? And it was like a new section of the venue that the room runner hadn't seen before. They'd just finished renovations on it. So it was what it was. Like we set up as best we could and actually had a decent crowd out there. So there was like we were tossing around numbers of maybe like 40-ish. But like I said, it was a bit of a weird layout, and the owner of the venue told us the next morning that they checked in about 70 people out there, which is insane. If there was 70 people there, it definitely didn't feel like it, just with the layout and stuff. But I got up and proceeded to. I opened the show. I got up and proceeded to eat a bag of dicks, which it was a struggle. It was a struggle for like the however long I said it. I just did like 13, 14 minutes or whatever. But yeah, I got to the point where I was grasping for straws, right? I had used my material that normally works up here, and I've got, again, we've spoke about it numerous times on the podcast, right? I've got a dog joke, and it's the first joke I ever got like written and work as a proper joke on stage, right? Like when I finished this thing, I was stoked that had come out of my head. And I've had like multiple room runners that are like respected in the scene say that it's one of the like best written jokes they've seen for a while, which is fucking good to hear. It was a little boost in my sales. So I've gone, okay, I need to dip into my toolbox here. What am I going to do? I'll pull out the old classic. They're going to fucking love this stuff. And I've proceeded to tell this dog bit. It's about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, right? Let's say it's a 2-minute story. So I've just spoken a 2-minute story into the void, into nothingness, right? No reaction, no nothing. And I've got to the end of that joke, and this might have been, I don't know, 7 to 8 minutes into the time I was up there, right? And this was about the time that I started to realize, okay, it's do or die up here. Like I'm in survival mode right now. I've got to do whatever I can to survive. So I've got to the end of this joke, do my punchline, which normally If it doesn't get a big laugh, it gets like a groan or like a disapproval from the crowd, which is just as good for me. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes that's funnier than a laugh in some jokes. So I get to the end, and basically the joke is, well, I'll say what I said to the crowd. So I get to the punchline, crickets, nothing. So I stand on stage for 2 to 3 seconds in the silence, right? Just taking it in. And I've gone, okay, material's not going to fucking work here. And this has been my big takeaway from the weekend. And this only just sort of hit me on the drive back, right? Because we were all sort of talking in the car on the way back. And when they asked me, they're like, oh, did you learn anything from the weekend? This is what I took away from it, right? I've always, pretty much always just stuck to my set, right? I go up, I perform my set. Every now and then you dip into the crowd, like I've been telling you guys about. I'm trying to do a little bit more. But these 2 moments over the weekend, I've just blown the lid on Roma as well, but we'll get there. They taught me to just fucking ditch the material and go on survival mode and just address shit in the room, address how shit you are at comedy, just fucking all that. And once I started to do that, I was getting laughs. It was like, it almost felt like the moment I stopped giving a fuck, they started laughing. So I stood there in silence for 2 to 3 seconds. And in my head, I've gone, that was my safety net. I've got fucking nothing left. So then I'm like, all right, I'll just be a smart ass to these cunts. I couldn't care anymore, right? So I've just stopped and I've gone, you see, why that joke was so funny, right, is because my dog has seizures. And when she has a seizure, I have to put this tablet inside her asshole, right? Now, if you guys don't think that part's funny, that's a pretty funny fucking concept, right? To have to finger your dog to save it. And then they like let out a bit of a chuckle. And then from as soon as I heard that laugh then, and I don't know if it's because they realized that I was just like, A, I couldn't give a fuck anymore, or B, I was acknowledging how shit I was doing. So I got a laugh there and I was like, oh, this could fucking work. So then I go, so the joke is I have tricked my wife by saying that I have a doctor's note saying I have the same condition. So now my wife has to put a tablet on her finger and stick it inside my asshole until I come. And then that just got fucking like the loudest laugh on my set, right? And I was like, oh, thank fuck. So then I started my next joke. I got about halfway through. Wasn't fucking working again. So again, I just started fucking going on the fly and just explaining why that joke was so shit and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I just cruised to the end on survival mode and I was fucking so depressed at the end of it, eh? And then the other comedians, they struggled as well. One of them actually did better than both of us, but he's a bit of a weapon with his crowd work, which obviously in that situation, it can be your saving grace. So he actually had 2 cracking sets over the weekend, just purely relying on crowd work. Like I spoke to him on the way back. I'm like, did you plan on doing that much crowd work this weekend and like ditching your material? And he's like, no, like he does want to work on his crowd work more, but he also wants to try and get that material solid. So it was pretty good for him in a way. But yeah, that same dude. So I was depressed, right? Had a bit of dinner and I said, all right, I'm going up to bed. So we had accommodation at both venues. So I go upstairs and I was actually just fucking around on my laptop doing the podcast clip for last week. And this was like 10 o'clock or something, 10:30. And the room runner comes in and he goes, oh, old mate's just gone back to some random's house, like some random dude's house because he's going to cook him dinner, which sounds like the lead up to every fucking horror movie. You know what I mean? Just young comedian lured back to man's house for dinner and brutally murdered. So it didn't sound right to me, right? And me and this dude were staying in the same room. So we've tried to work out a way that we can leave the venue and the bedroom door unlocked so he can come in, right? I didn't think he was going to come back. I thought we were going to be doing a search the next morning. But sure enough, he comes back the next morning with just this cracking story about going back to these country guys' houses and they cooked him spaghetti bolognese and fucking all the works, right? So I missed out on that. But to be fair, there was no way in hell I was going back to any one of those persons' houses that fucking hated me. But yeah, turns out the crowd was actually stoked that we were there and stuff, right? But I guess they just weren't into the immature dick jokes, which I've always got word from other comedians in the scene that have dipped their toes in this regional stuff, right? They always say, A, they're stoked you're going to be there because they don't get much comedy and stuff like that from the city. And B, they like the dirty shit. So I went into the weekend reasonably confident, right? Which I should not have fucking done because it crashed and burned pretty quickly. But yeah, next morning I woke up and I was walking around the town until the other guys woke up and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And turns out Nanango has the biggest markets in southeast Queensland, and they were on Saturday morning. So I went and had a walk around the markets, and they were cool as fuck. There was so much old shit there that I wanted to buy. Like, they had like old fuel tins and shit that I thought would have looked cool here, but it was just like, where do you stop? Like, I could have spent thousands of dollars at that place. Then I went down the back and they had like puppies and kittens and fucking cows and chickens and just full fucking rural markets. It was sick. So I wasted about an hour there, bought the kids some presents, bought Nikita a present, which she may or may not have liked. We're not going to go into it on the podcast. But yeah, then about 9 o'clock or so, we shot off, started the journey down to Roma. And look, the bed situation at Nanango was not ideal, right? I didn't know we were sharing rooms, but fair enough. It is what it is, right? So we make the journey to Roma, and the bed at Nanango it felt like I was sleeping on springs. Anyway, get to Roma, boom. This venue is so nice, I guess you'd say. Let's put it this way, felt a couple of levels up from the night before. So I was like, all right, we're fucking on here. And the room runner said, last time he did this circuit, Roma was it was the standout, right? So again, I've got high hopes. Then we check in. Oh my God, we've all got our own rooms. This is the perfect situation. So I go to my own room. I'm chilling out there. And there are some fucking characters in Roma. I think this place that we were staying was just full of, how do I say this? Like the misfits, and I don't know how else to politely say this, but yeah, there were some interesting characters there, right? So we've checked in and we basically got the rest of the afternoon just to kick around, have some food. Again, I was doing some more shit in my laptop in my room. And then I've come outside and across the balcony, we have this array of characters and they just want to fucking chat and tell me their life stories. Fair enough. I'm here for it, right? Now, these guys are covered in home job tattoos, right? Typical chopper mustaches. And then like the younger ones were just like morbidly obese. Let's put it that way, right? Mullets, fucking the works. Pure country folk. And one of them had a girlfriend who, I don't know if she didn't have the ability to talk, but she didn't talk, right? And she is on the back of this morbidly obese dude with a mullet. He might have been my age, but he had a very loose singlet on that you could see every fat roll he has. Now, this woman is behind him. Now, I don't know about you guys. This might be normal in your life. My wife does not do this in public, but she was behind him. And while I'm having a conversation with this bloke, she is squeezing his pimples and just like looking at me while we're talking. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I thought I was going to have another like shit in a bag situation where I was just going to be talking and then fucking pus was just going to fly and hit me in the face. Thank fuck it didn't. I wrapped up the conversation pretty quickly. But yeah, here's I got back from there, right? I went to the toilet after that, laid down in the bed. And as I'm laying in the bed, I look at the VJ wall in front of me, right? And I see light beaming through one of the VJ grooves. If you don't know what VJ is, it's like if you've seen like an old Queenslander house or whatever, it's basically like the wall paneling and it's got V grooves up the whole thing. Makes sense? Now I've seen light beaming through from the other room, right? And when they used to build old buildings like this, it was just single skin VJ. So it's just a piece of like 10 or 12 mil VJ, and that's your wall. So paper thin, you can hear every conversation, which we're going to get to. But I see this light beaming through, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought I was seeing things. So I've walked over, and I've looked through, and you can clearly see through to the other room. So I don't know if someone from the other room was spying on me or whoever was in this room before me was spying on them. Weird as shit, right? So I've obviously propped something up in front of it because I don't want to watch anyone. I don't want to let anyone watch me sleep, sorry. But weird as shit. That was basically day one. Now, we get to the gig. Pure fucking country folk, right? Kicking around the bar. And I don't know why I did this. Maybe because I was in like my city clothes with my Jordans on. So I felt like I needed to ramp up the country a little bit. Like tell them that I had country roots. And I've gone to the bar to order a drink. And this guy's gone, hey mate, like in a deep country voice. He's like, hey mate, what can I get you? I don't know why the fuck my brain did this, but it's like you need to match his manliness and country. And I've gone, hey mate, how you going? Not in my fucking real voice. Like a deep fucking macho voice. And as I did it, I've just gone, oh, you're a dickhead. Now I have to keep up this charade for the whole order of my water just so he doesn't think I'm a fucking weirdo. Meanwhile, he would have seen me perform right in front of him later and not have that voice. So that was fucking awkward. So I get up. I was second this night. And there was probably 12 people there by the time we kicked off. So yeah, the MC and the opener, they both did the first half. And then by the time I got on, I think there were maybe 8 people there, which is less than ideal. But is what it is. Roll with the punches, do with it what you can. Remember what you learned from night one, right? So I've got into my material, not quite working. About the same time again, maybe 6 to 7 minutes. In come this football team, I suppose. They all had polo shirts on, same hats, blah, blah, blah. Just a bunch of fucking loud, rambunctious country boys. And this must be their stomping grounds on a Saturday night. This must be where the local footy team comes to party after they've played or whatever. And they're ready to go. Like this venue is their show on a Saturday night, not some fucking comedians from Brisbane come to tell some dick jokes, right? So they're back and forth. To get to the beer garden, you've got to walk past where we were doing the comedy, right? So there was just constant foot traffic the whole show. So whatever momentum you built up with the 8 people I had there to work with, like I was slowly building their trust and getting some laughs, and then fucking 4 blokes would just walk past and they'd stop and they'd fucking like be like, what's going on here? And then just the usual shit. When does the comedy start? Blah, blah, blah. And you just you'd try and play into it as much as you could. But also you wanted to give the people that were there and wanting to listen a decent show. So I'm trying to push through and do what I can. And again, I dig in the pocket and pull out the dog bit, which like I said, it's a long bit. It's like 2 minutes. And there's some steady laughs through the joke, but the big one's at the end. So these 2 blokes, they stop about halfway through the joke and they're listening and they're yelling shit out, just like taking full momentum out of the story, right? Anything that I built with this story was out the window. And they're yelling out, like, when's the comedy start, blah, blah, blah. So I started taking jabs back at them. And to be honest, I need to watch the recording back to see what exactly I said to them. But I had a dig at them in some way. And when I said it, I don't think it was anything bad, right? It was just a generic answer to a heckler. And they've started to go from happy drunks to, oh, fuck this guy, fucking, he's not even funny, blah, 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 just yelling shit out, right? Being cockheads. And then they've gone, oh, fuck this shit, let's fucking go back out to the beer garden. So they go out to the beer garden and I cruise through the rest of my set, right? Again, not a great set, is what it is. I yeah, I basically just played into the situation, got laughs from just the spontaneous shit that I was doing, it was cool. But once I got off, the kitchen was closed. So I was hungry as fuck, and I knew there was a Macca's like 500 meters down the road. So I've gone, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to go to Macca's. I've walked out of the venue, and of course, who's outside the front having a smoke with their mates? The two guys that were heckling me with another like maybe 5 of their fucking footy mates or whatever they are. And I've seen them, and luckily Macca's was the other direction. So I've turned out of the pub and just started walking down the main street, and I just hear them just yelling out behind me. And I was like, fuck, I do not want to fight these cunts over that gig that I just had. If I just crushed in front of 100 people and I was on a high, let's go. I'll fight you for it. But I wouldn't really. But to bomb in front of 8 people and just have a horrendous set, I'm not ready to throw down for that. You know what I mean? I'm not defending that set. I'd probably just lay down in the main street and go, you guys are doing me a favor. Thank you so much. But yeah, they're yelling shit out, and I'm just doing everything just to fucking stare straight and not play into it. So luckily they just left it. And as I've come back, now they're out the front with even more mates, and all their girlfriends and shit are there now, right? And I've gone, oh, fuck. I'm just carrying a bag of Maccas and a fucking Coke. I'm like sick. How am I going to get back into this place without addressing them? But as I've got closer, there was a side door to like the pokey room. So I've gone, oh, sweet, saving grace. Done the little dip through the pokey room, straight up to my room, smashed my Maccas, and yeah, called it a night. Actually, before I called it a night, this was another thing. So I've laid in bed and I'm looking around before I turn the lights off, and smeared all over the front door curtain and the curtain at the front window is just blood splatters, and like, you know when you try and wipe blood off fabric and it just smudges in circles? So a lot of things about this room started to freak me out. The little peephole, the blood splatters, the people hanging around. So I was scared as shit to go to sleep, but I finally got to sleep. Get a wake-up call about 5:30 the following morning, though. Like I said, old school thin VJ walls. The dude next door to me decided to have a conversation with some lady walking past on the balcony as loud as he possibly could. And he explained to her how he had a brain injury a few years ago, and now he can see spirits and things like that. And he tried to connect with some of her spirits, and then he spoke about his like meth addiction, and holy fuck, it went for like half an hour. I recorded some on my phone because it was just so out there. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the tour. So it look, it was not the greatest introduction to road dog life, but there was definitely some good things that I took out of it. So booked on another tour in October, and we'll see how that one goes. But it's definitely, I can see both sides of the coin, right? I can see why road dog life is shit, because basically all you do is eat shit food all day, every day, and then you fucking just sit in your hotel room doing nothing. Luckily, I had some work and some podcast stuff I could do to keep me busy. But yeah, also it was sort of cool to just fucking hit the road and drive from venue to venue, and just like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good weekend. So when I got back yesterday and I could just put a lid on the whole thing, it was actually a sick weekend. So despite the brutal bombs, it was fucking sick. So is what it is. Get on to a couple of news things for the week. I think we're approaching, we're at 38 minutes already. Jesus Christ. But a couple of things this week. CMC 2025, let's call that, announced their their fucking lineup. And I don't know, like, CMC is one of those things. I've only been once, and look, it probably wasn't the best situation to go in. It was the year they had like those crazy storms, basically blew our campsite apart. And I think Westy, my oldest son, was like 1 or 2. So again, it's not ideal. Like, we went with mum and dad, so they were watching him when we went over to the festival and stuff. But again, it was just that knowing that you had a child there and wanting like mum and dad to enjoy the festival and stuff as well. So it it just wasn't the perfect thing. So I guess because of all that, we didn't really enjoy it. But like I've said numerous times on the podcast, huge country music fan, right? Now, the lineup got announced. There was no huge names for me, right? And I get all the names on there are huge names in the country scene, but they're just not what I would like to see. So the two on the lineup that did strike my eye, so Thomas Rhett is one of the headliners for one of the night, and he's one of the dudes that sort of got me back into country music just with that. He sort of had like a bit of a poppy country sort of vibe at the start, whereas I think he's peeled it back to more country now. So yeah, he's one of the headliners. The other headliners are Cody Johnson, which again, I think he's huge in his own right, but I've never really got into his gear too much. And the other one is John Party, which again, I could probably only name sort of 2 or 3 of his songs. But the big one that I'd probably just pay for admission on its own is Ole 60, which I gave them a plug maybe 3 months ago now. Crazy songs. Just the stories they tell in their songs are just unreal. So part of me's hoping they do a bit of a sideshow, but a lot of these acts sort of have big deals with CMC and stuff that they're not allowed to do sideshows so that it promotes all the traffic to CMC. But we'll see. Obviously, there has been cases in the past where a lot of the bigger names have been able to, sort of make their own rules, if that's how you want to put it. But yeah, shout out if you're going to CMC. If you're going to CMC, let me know. But it's expensive as fuck. That's the other thing. Like, yeah, I don't know. No names on this year are going to make me pay that amount of money to go and see them. But thought I'd just give it a little bit of airtime today because it's piqued my interest in the past, and I know there's probably some country music fans listening. But I've got 2 social media stories from the week, right, that have caught my eye. The first one is, I don't know if you guys are over this as well, but his name's Wade Wilson. And if that name rings a bell, it's because that's Deadpool's real name, the superhero Deadpool. But this guy is a murderer from America, right? He brutally murdered 2 women, and he's been on trial and stuff in the States. And when he got arrested, he was obviously like a good-looking bloke, right? He's got all the features you want. He's got slicked back black hair, and he was just a clean face when he went to prison, right? Since being arrested and being in prison, he has got his entire face tattooed. He's got a big smiley face. He's got like Nazi symbols and shit all over his face. He's lost the plot, right? But for whatever reason, this has made him even more attractive to women on TikTok. Now, last week he got sentenced to the death penalty, which I think he's actually due like this week or something. I think he's getting put to sleep or whatever, however they do it in that state. But the amount of women on TikTok that are putting forward petitions and stuff to get him off the death penalty because of his looks and shit like that. But it's like, step back. This dude brutally murdered 2 women for no reason. And now you guys are like, oh, he's so hot. Let's get him off. Like, he's getting fucking money sent to him. He's getting like love letters, all this fucked up shit. But it was just, it's crazy that women are so, and probably cop some backlash for this about the whole fucking you're a sexist pig, blah, blah, blah. But it's true. Like, women are obsessed with crime documentaries and all that sort of shit, right? And there's something about like a naughty boy in prison that just gets them going. And this dude is a prime example of that. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the Wade Wilson case, go give it yourself a bit of a refresher. It's particularly huge on TikTok. But this one, to be honest, I knew nothing about this dude, right? Until yesterday when this all sort of came out. So I don't know if any of you guys know him, but his name's Nikocado Avocado. I know, fucking weird name, right? Now, this dude's whole shtick is he does what you call a mukbang, which, it's weird. I know. I'd never fucking heard it either. Like, I'd heard it loosely on TikTok and stuff, but I'd never narrowed down to see what it is. It is basically you fill your table with food and you just gorge yourself on fucking camera. Like, there's videos of him with a table full of spaghetti bolognese, just shoveling it in his face and then like dripping it all over his body and shit weird shit, right? Like he'll get 20 Macca's burgers and just smush them in his face and, disgusting. And the dude, I don't know how heavy he actually was, but rumors are the weight in question is 250 pounds. And what I might even do is play his little video where he came out, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper. So let me drag it across. All right, this is Nikocado Avocado.
Today I woke up from a very long dream, and I also woke up having lost 250 pounds off of my body. Yet just yesterday, people were calling me fat and sick and boring and irrelevant. People are the most messed up creatures on the entire planet. And yet I've still managed to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone.
Okay, so now on the back of that video, all these mukbang videos that he's been doing, right? Like he literally posted the last one yesterday or whatever, right? So he's basically done a social experiment over the last 2 years with the internet. And every day, I think it was, he would post one of these mukbang videos of him being giantly fucking obese, right? And everyone's hating on him on the internet, calling him fat, calling him all this shit, right? But in the background, he recorded all these videos like over the span of the last 2 years or whatever, and he's just been releasing them now. But over those 2 years, he's been losing all the weight. So now he's just the skinny dude that you just saw on webcam there. So all up, I think he said he lost 250 pounds, which I don't even know how much that is in kilos. I think that's must be like 110 kilos or something, somewhere around there, 120. So yeah, it's pretty fucking nuts that he sort of came up with that idea in his head and executed it perfectly. Like, how in the space of 2 years has nobody seen him this skinny? Like, obviously all his mates and shit would have had to have kept it a secret. So then there were all these conspiracies that, no, he's still just tricking us. He's actually done it in reverse again. He recorded that before he put all the weight on. And then he's come out again and he's doing like trending TikTok dances that obviously weren't trending 2 years ago to current songs, just to prove that that's how skinny he is now. So I don't know. I just like I said, I'd never fucking heard of him until yesterday, and it just blew my mind just to not only come up with that concept, but to execute it pretty much perfectly over the space of 2 years. It was just wild to me. So hopefully you guys appreciated that. But I've only really watched one thing this week, which I know I probably should have watched more, living the tour life. That's what I should have been doing in my hotel room. But yeah, Nikita and I have been watching the new Netflix series. We haven't finished it yet. I think we're three or four episodes in. It's called Worst Ex Ever, and it's basically your true crime murder documentary about basically how exes murdered their partners, or like basically how that people have murdered their partners. And some of the stories are just fucking insane. Hey, like that's such a genre that you're going to never hit the bottom of the well. Like there's always going to be murders and shit, unfortunately. But just seeing like the mental thoughts and shit of people that go through and execute this, it's nuts. And then some of the stuff you see as well, and you're like, how did you not see this coming? But it's actually not too bad. So if you guys are bored and just want something on in the background, that's pretty much what Nikita and I have been doing, just putting it on in the background and watching and listening. So it's not too bad. Worst Ex Ever on Netflix. Now, let's get into a bit of UFC chat, eh? We haven't touched on UFC for a couple of weeks, but hats off to Sean Brady. Got a win over Gilbert Burns yesterday, that's a huge win for him. That's easily his biggest win of his career, which puts him up there in the top sort of talent of that weight class. And I've sort of like Sean Brady since he's come into the UFC. He's your typical cocky young dude covered in tattoos, like covered, right? I think his face is the only thing that's not tattooed. But yeah, he's just an awesome fucking mixed martial artist. And he got the job done yesterday. Would have liked to see him get the finish, but you can't complain, can you? A win's a win. So yeah, hopefully that catapults him. He gets him possibly into title contention. One more fight and then for sure title contention. Like Gilbert Burns was being thrown around for like title shots left, right, and center. So he's just beaten him. So surely it just makes sense, right? But the card this weekend, to say I've been looking forward to this card for so long is a fucking understatement. Like this is, I put it in my calendar that, because a lot of the times I'll just say to Nikita, I'm like, the UFC's on this weekend. These are the fights I need to watch. These are the fights I want to watch. And if I miss these ones, let's do shit in between there, right? Now, this is the first card in easily 12 months that I've chiseled out the entire day in the calendar that I'm not leaving the couch. Now, UFC 305, it is the first martial arts or fighting card that will ever take place in the Sphere at Las Vegas. So I think we touched on the Sphere when it first came out on the podcast. It's basically a giant sphere-shaped object in Las Vegas that's kitted out with millions of LEDs, right? And you can more or less turn this venue into whatever you want it to turn into. So Dana White's obviously seen it and wants to be the first one to ever put an event on there. And he reckons he's come up with the craziest thing that the fight game has ever seen, right? And I guarantee he's probably right. Like, what he can do with this, I think it's just going to be insane. That first glance of seeing the cage with whatever's going to be in the background, whether it's the fighters walking out, whether it's the other big thing is he's doing it on Mexican Independence Day. So he's calling it his love letter to Mexico. So all the stuff we have seen at the moment is basically all bright, like Mexican sort of designs and stuff rotating around the outside of the Sphere. And the card is just from bottom to top kitted out with Mexican fighters. So it's going to be unreal to see, right? But the headliner is holy fuck. I just mixed their two last names together. Sean O'Malley, who is easily one of my favourite fighters at the moment, right? He is very Conor McGregor-esque in his come-up. Just calling it out how he thinks is going to go down and then going out there and doing it. And then outside the cage, he's this bright, lavish young dude just living life, just throwing money into the air, right? But like you see his behind the scenes thing and he's got a head on his shoulders. Like he's investing in stuff wisely at the same time. So Sean O'Malley versus Merab Devashili, I think you say it, but everyone just says Merab because it's easy. But look, Merab is a fucking tank, and if I had to put money on this fight, I would have to put money on Merab just because the way that he wrestles people, once he gets on top of you, you're not fucking moving him. It's a matter of seconds until he works you into a position that you're just going to fucking tap like chicken, as Khabib used to say. But look, again, Sean O'Malley has done it time after time. Everyone's always doubted him every fight, and he's somehow gone in there and worked out a way to win. So if there is someone that can win, it's going to be Sean O'Malley, but it's just going to take one mistake for fucking Merab to get you in a position that's going to fucking make you regret it for the rest of your life. So betting with my heart, I want to go with O'Malley, but betting with my head, I think Merab's the underdog in that one, and it's very likely that could happen. But look, looking at the rest of the card, they're all decent fights, right? But they're the only real names on the card. The only other big names on the card are Brian Ortega and Diego Lopez. And that fight was supposed to happen a few months ago, but I think Brian Ortega got hurt. So they've put it on this card, and I think that definitely helps the main card because, to be fair, the rest of the card is relatively weak in terms of name. But if you've seen some of these guys fight before, they definitely obviously bring the skill level, like, which is a stupid fucking thing to say. They're in the UFC, you know what I mean? But yeah, if you're thinking of not buying this card just because of the names on the card, stand back, go to bed with a mirror and wake up and have a look to yourself because, yeah, fucking not only it's worth the pay-per-view just to see what they do with the Sphere. Like it's a fucking milestone event just to see. Like Dana has poured millions upon millions of dollars in making this work just because obviously his name's behind it. This is his reputation. He's gone out and said this is going to be the most amazing martial arts event that has ever taken place. So if there's someone that can back it up, it's fucking him. But yeah, let's we'll do a bit of a recap next week. Premature premise for the week. This is one that I came up with this week, and again, I don't know if I'll even ever use this because it's a topic that it'll get on the bad side of a lot of people in the scene, but there's nothing bad about it, right? So this was actually while I was away over the weekend. Someone who served me, he was gay, but he wasn't like over the top gay, if that makes sense. Everyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about, even if you want to pretend I don't. So my premise was, imagine how funny it would be if, say you're a relatively like straight, normal sort of bloke your entire life. Say you finally come out in your 20s or 30s or whatever, and you've never experienced the gay lifestyle. So in your head, you're like, okay, so being gay, it can just be like being straight, but you're just like fucking dudes. So like that's your thing, right? Nothing weird. Like it's accepted these days. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. So then imagine you've made this big call, you've come out of the closet, and then you go to like your first gay event and it's just over the top gay people and like furries and shit. And then just you rocking up to that event and then just being like, wow, I don't know if that's actually what I wanted to be. Like, I don't know. I haven't really fucking worded that as well as it was in my head. And it's just saying that out loud is going to get me in a lot of trouble. But does that make sense? Like just rocking up to like an event and just being hit with like furries and people cutting their dicks off and shit. And you're like, I don't want to fucking be here. Oh, you ever say something and just go, fuck, I wish I never said that. But yeah, what else have we got here? We got motivational clip for the week. So this is we mentioned it before, and this is just a short, quick, easy one that rung true this week. So let me get it across. It's a newish clip from the man, the myth, the legend, Conor McGregor himself. Let's go.
Live in the future, you're anxious. If you live in the past, you're depressed. If you live in the now, you're happy.
That rung true for me this week is everything you just said. You think about your past too much, you get fucking anxious or depressed, and then you look in the future and you get anxious. So just fucking live for right now. Plug-in shows for this week. So we've got a few to plug here, so buckle in. Wednesday the 11th, I will be at the Currumbin Tap Room. First time I'm doing that, so should be a fun one. Thursday the 12th, Last Night on Earth. It's always a fun one at Southport. Friday the 13th, I'll be at Matic Brewing at Ashmore. Saturday the 14th, big one, I'll be at Home of the Arts. So yeah, that's always a fucking jam-packed lineup, so come check that one out. And then the two big ones that I've been plugging. So 17th of September at Good Chat Comedy Club. We need to fucking sell this place out. There's no way we can do this show and not sell it out, okay? And there's the amount of messages that I got over the weekend that were like, like from friends and family and stuff like that. And they're like, have fun on the tour. Someone is fucking beeping their horn. I don't know if you guys can hear that. What the fuck? But they're like, have fun on the tour. But yeah, the tour was fun and big and everything. But this is probably like, I don't want to say it, but like it's almost like the peak of my comedy career to date. Like a split bill show in a proper comedy club is fucking Like, it's another thing that I've stopped and reflected on. It's some next level shit. So, if you've never seen me do comedy before, if you have seen me do comedy before, just come to the fucking show, because like this is sort of the pinnacle as to where my career is at the moment. So, like I said, we need to sell tickets. I'm going to be up in the city either Tuesday or Wednesday this week, legit flyers on street, just fucking pounding the pavement, because like I said, the three of us do not want this place to be empty on the night of the show. But the other big one, if you can't make it to that one for whatever reason, because you're fucking weak as piss, come to the next one at Distillery Road, September 22nd. I'm not on that lineup, but cracking lineup I've put together there. So if you want to get in touch with the show, send submissions via DM on Instagram or via email at cantgetanyworsepod@gmail.com. And like I said, another guest episode dropping Thursday. It's a fucking ripping episode, legit. One of the best conversations I've had in a long time. Don't forget to check that one out as well. Appreciate the love on last week's episodes. Keep sharing the fuck out of them, and I will see you later.